Hi everybody, so this section is on the division of polynomials. So all of these situations are where we're dividing one polynomial by another polynomial. So one of the things that I want to point out is that it's really important here that when you're dividing polynomials that you're careful of the exponents. You got to be very mindful of your exponents. In this first example, we actually have the exponents of the values listed in descending order, which is exactly what we want, as in 12x to the 12th minus 8x to the 8th, 4x to the 6th. And then that's being divided by 4x to the 4th. Now, the first, there's a few different ways you can approach this, but the way that we're going to look at today is kind of using a long division method that you should be familiar with and has a lot of similarities to something you already know how to do. So the way that this approach works is that you put literally the thing that you're dividing in the house. In this case, it would be 12x to the 12th minus 8x to the 8th plus 4x to the 6th. And then you put your divisor, or the thing that you're dividing the dividend by, outside, which is 4x to the 4th. Then what I do is that I would do just exactly what I do when I do quote-unquote regular long division, which is that I cover up everything but the first term in the dividend polynomial, which is 12x to the 12th, and I say, okay, well, how many times does 4x to the 4th go into 12x to the 12th? Well, 4 goes into 12 3 times, and x to the 8th is the number of times that 4x to the 4th, if you divided 12x to the 12th by 4x to the 4th, you'd get 3x to the 8th. So then you'd do 3x to the 8th times 4x to the 4th, and you end up with 12x to the 12th. Subtract, you got nothing. Bring down the next term, negative 8x to the 8th. Now you can kind of ignore that 0, and you have a negative 8x to the 8th. Well, 4x to the 4th goes into negative 8x to the 8th, minus 2x to the 4th. There we go. Negative 2x to the 4th times 4x to the 4th is negative 8x to the 8th. Subtract those, we end up with 0 again. Bring down our last term, which is 4x to the 6th, and 4x to the 4th goes into 4x to the 6th, x to the 2nd times. Positive, so we're adding together. And then we can 0 that out. And so what we get is that it is 3x to the 8th minus 2x to the 4th plus x squared. All right, let's take a look at this next one. So one of the things that I notice right off the bat with this next example is that we do not have our exponents in descending order. Currently, we've got negative 2x to the 2nd coming before 3x to the 3rd. So what I'm going to do first and foremost is I'm going to reorder this polynomial so that it's in descending order. And I'm actually going to do the same thing with my dividend, with the minus 3 plus x. So that would become x minus 3. Now I'm going to set it up just as I did the last one, putting the dividend inside the house. Put my x minus 3 on the outside. And then I'm going to take this term by term. I've got x to the minus 3 going into 3x to the 3rd. This time we do have to be careful here. It looks like we're talking about 3x squared. I look at the x first. Now I need to multiply 3x squared by x minus 3. And how that works out is, well, we distribute. We really are distributing the 3x to the 2nd over the x minus 3. So we end up with 3x to the 3rd minus 9x to the 2nd. We're going to subtract this part. Have to be careful here. the first terms are equal to 0. The second terms are equal to 7x to the second. We bring down the next term. So we're plus 5x. So now we say, okay, well, x minus 3, how many times does that go into 7x squared plus 5x? I just look at the first term. The x goes into the 7x squared 7x times. 7x distributed over the x minus 3 is 7x squared minus 21x. I'm going to subtract these out. First terms 0 out. 5x minus negative 21 gets us positive 26x. Bring down our 50. X minus 3 goes into 26x plus 5. So I again focus on those first terms, the x and the 26x. X goes into 26x 26 times. So I put plus 26. 26 times x minus 3 is 26x minus 78. I subtract these. 50 minus 78 is actually 128. And now you notice we have nothing else left to drop. So just like with quote-unquote regular division problems, what we do is that we add a fraction, which is the 128 divided by our dividend, which is x minus 3. And so this is going to be our final answer for this one. All right, we got one more. So what I'm going to do here, once again, we should notice that our dividend, the thing that we're dividing, minus 2x plus 5 plus 3x to the third, we're dividing that by negative 3 plus x. This does not have its exponents in descending order, so we're going to do that. We're going to rewrite it as 3x to the third minus 2x plus 5. One other thing that I notice about this is that we're actually missing kind of a term. If we're going in order here, you notice that there is no x squared term. What I like to do, because it can be really helpful when it comes to keeping track of our dividing process, is I like to throw in a 0x squared term to kind of hold that place. So I'm going to rewrite that again. So this does not change the value of this polynomial. All it does is just kind of give us a little placeholder so we don't forget that term exists and make a mistake. So all I'm doing is adding in that 0x squared term. So now I'm going to put my dividend inside the house. I'm going to throw my x minus 3 outside the house. There we go. And now I'm going to start this process. X minus 3 going into 3x to the second. That is going to, or 3x to the third rather, which should be 3x to the second. 3x to the second times x minus 3 is 3x to the third minus 9x to the third. 9x to the second rather. Whew. Okay, I'm going to subtract those. So I end up with a positive 9x squared. Bring down my minus 2x. X minus 3 goes into 9x to the second. 9x times. 9x times x minus 3 is 9x squared minus 27x. Subtract these, and we end up with a positive 25x. Bring down the 5, and we end up with x minus 3 going into 25x plus 5. Well, that's going to be 25 times. 25 times x minus 3 is 25x minus 75. And when we subtract those, we end up getting 80. And once again, we have no other terms to bring down. So we finish up by adding the fraction, 80 over x minus 3. And there we have it. All right, these do have some legwork involved, but give them a try and see how you do.